now I want to listen Sarah Bishop because she will share with us a really fantastic topic. It's how we are employed is our life is enjoyed.
Everybody, thank you very much for that lovely introduction, Antonio. Can you see my screen okay? That's the first thing to check. Yeah, marvelous. Okay, so I'm talking about employment. I know we've been talking about jobs, and job is a word that we often use, but for me it's about employment, because that isn't just about working in a paid job. I think how we're employed, we could be employed in training, we can be employed in learning a new skill, we could be employed in mindfulness and sitting doing seemingly nothing. But we always tend to think about paid jobs when we hear the word employment. Now, it's something that's very close to my heart. I've been working in the world of recruitment for 27 years now, so a very long time. And so I've worked with people at all different levels, so people looking for their first jobs when they've graduated or when they've finished education, right the way through to people that work at CEO and C-suite level. And there's one thing that I've found that people generally have in common when they're looking for something work-wise, and that is something that they can enjoy. So employment, I always do this, I get carried away and I start talking about it and then realise that I haven't clicked onto the next slide. So as I say, employment in the definition in the dictionary is either a job that you do for wages, where you're paid by somebody else to carry out a job, but it's also one of the other definitions is also about making use of. So it might be that you're making use of your skills, making use of your time, or indeed making use of, I don't know, an object or whatever. So it's quite far reaching. And one of the things I think we can probably all agree on is that however we are employed, particularly from a work or a job perspective, it takes up a lot of our time. It takes up a huge chunk of our lives, and it has a massive impact really on all sorts of aspects of our lives as well. So as a recruiter, one of the things that's always been a value that's been very dear to me, I've always said to my candidates when they come to me looking for work, and for people indeed that I've employed and have worked with me, is that because we spend so much time doing the work, and when we're not doing the work, thinking about the work, which is why I chose this graphic, because it's kind of always on our mind in some way, shape or form, the last thing we need is something that we don't really enjoy. So it was great when it was Russ Sorden, who first invited me to get involved with Matching for You. And for me, it was just an amazing platform. It covered so many bases, and it had this lovely, far-reaching, holistic approach to it, not just being about finding jobs. So, looking for those learning opportunities as well. So, we'd all like to have fun. We all have to work to a certain extent, or most of us have to work. It's very nice if we can find something that we would do even if we weren't paid for it. Now, unfortunately, that's not the case for everybody. And it will change throughout our life journeys as we go on. I'm sure you've all found it, and if you're further along in your careers or in your life, you've probably found that at different times of your life, you've been looking to be employed in different ways. So when Russ initially called me about Matching for You and getting involved, I'd actually just started reading this book by Yuval Noah Harari. I don't know if people are familiar with him, but he's written a couple of best-selling books prior to this. Sapiens is one, and the other one is Homo Deus. And basically, Yuval is a historian, and he's a really, really interesting guy. So he uses his historical research background to look at how we can perhaps extrapolate from where we've been, where we're at, and what the future holds. And the 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, as I say, I just started reading this when Russ called me to talk about Matching for You. Now, it really brought home to me, having worked in recruitment for a long time, I've seen a lot of changes in patterns, in how people work, in the sorts of things that people are looking for. So I've witnessed, I'm getting a bit old now, I've witnessed quite a change from where I live in the UK, and particularly in the Midlands where I live. It's always traditionally been very much a heavy manufacturing base and an industrial base where they made stuff, and a lot of people worked in factories, food production and manufacturing. And over the years, I watched it change so that there was much more service industry and what we would call tertiary sectors as well. So I've also watched local economies and education institutions have to change how they basically train our talent for the future. Now that's spanned over nearly 30 years now. God, it makes me feel old even saying that, but nearly 3 decades that's spanned. And in the last 12, 18 months, we've all witnessed another huge sea change. And that's been brought about largely by this global pandemic that we're all witnessing and living through or trying to get through. And we've seen a huge surge and increase in things like remote working and different kind. One of my now largest clients is providing COVID testing for the film and TV industry, and COVID testing is now a service that's being provided to large corporate companies and businesses who need to get their workforce back into place. So there's even new industries that are being born as a result of the pandemic. So this book, obviously it was written before the pandemic happened, but this book touches on how things are going to change in the future. And from the graphics there, you can see we've got automation. So over the years, we've seen robots take on jobs that many people used to do. So you've only got to go to a modern automotive factory, a car manufacturer, and there's so much of the production system is now automated and robotics, but also we've got big leaps in things like biotechnology as well. So how far away are we? I'm a bit of a science fiction fan as well, but how far away are we from people actually being augmented with technology? We've seen some of our Paralympians that have bionic limbs. There's neurological technology and things that that we can use. So how is that going to change, and how is it going to change how we find work, or particularly the younger generations and the future generations to come? So personally, I think that people are going to have to retrain and probably try lots of different things and go back into learning and learn new skills, because I think from what I've seen in my lifetime, things are probably only going to accelerate. Now, it might seem a bit gloom and doom, oh God, robots are going to take all of our jobs. I think there's also a lot of real potential in the changes that are coming, and we can embrace those. And by having a platform like this, we can make things accessible to people. So it's quite obvious now, as I say, we've had the growth of remote working, but people are working remotely a few miles in general, a few miles away from where they would have worked previously. But surely this is going to open up the globe to everybody. You could sit at home and potentially work for any company anywhere on the planet. Now, I think this has really far-reaching implications, actually. It could open up opportunities for people that are in developing world countries who wouldn't be able to normally access learning and training, and then job opportunities with perhaps big corporations that aren't in their country. It can help us with a work-life balance or a work-life blend, which I prefer a work-life blend. So we can see there's somebody sitting somewhere nice and exotic. Surely that's got to be better for each individual mental health and well-being. And it can potentially give us great environmental positive impacts as well. So that's basically it for me. I find the whole thing fascinating about where is it going to go, the job of the future, how we're employed for the future. And I think this platform is going to be a fantastic tool to help people along that journey. So thank you for your time.
Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing with us all this incredible stuff and these issues from the future, not the future, the present also, because this remote option that it was weird some years ago or some months ago, now it's like, whoa, it's what we have right now. A lot of people in the world are using remote work. And I heard that 40% of people that are now working are looking for employees that have the remote work as an option. So we need to think about it.